Ciao tutti, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. Just going to make sure I'm live on Facebook as well, which I am. Sometimes Facebook does take a long time, but this time it didn't. But once again, ciao tutti, it's your boy M.K.S here, back in another video. I'd love to know from Italians whether I'm pronouncing that right, because I know I support Italian football. I only support Italy and struggle for the football, but it's just because I think I look Italian and I supported them since I was young. I know I mentioned that before, but I don't know much Italian really, but I don't have any known Italian ancestry. But I'm a big fan of Italian football. And I was thinking this year, sorry, my cat's driving me nuts now. I was thinking this year is, football-wise, it's one of the worst years. Yeah, it's not been the greatest year generally, but especially football-wise. I know it's only football, but for me it's a big thing. But I wasn't sure whether to talk about politics, Asia, idea which I talked about I think a week or two ago, or Egypt, plans for Egypt to be a bridge between Africa and Asia, which I talked about at the beginning of this month, about 3 weeks ago. That can't be right. I'm sure it's listed as being 3 weeks ago, but it doesn't seem like that's only 2 weeks ago. Anyway, as it's the 16th today, but yeah, I think I couldn't get my butt out of bed till like about 3 o'clock today. I kept going back to sleep, waking up, going back to sleep, feeding the cat, fed the cat, woke up, kept waking up and going back to sleep and all that kind of thing. I know you probably think, what an easy bum, but anyway, yeah, I wanted Fiorentina and Bologna to do to have a miracle because they lost 3-0 and 3-1 respectively last week, and I was hoping, I'm sure it was last week or the week before, whatever. I think it's every week. But anyway, yeah, I was hoping they'd have a miracle. Like I was hoping Fiorentina would win 5-0 and therefore win 5-0 tonight and win 5-3 on aggregate. And also I was hoping for Bologna to win like 4-0 and therefore win like 5-3 on aggregate, ironically by the same score. But it doesn't look, it wasn't to be basically. I'm sure Fiorentina, unless they score really 2 late goals, go on to win an extra time, which would be pretty cool. It doesn't look likely. So Italy failing to qualify, then the Italian team's not doing well in Europe, and that kind of thing. And Celtic struggling in the league, and compared to our usual Celtics, I'm hoping Celtic can still win at least one trophy, if not a double, this season, and cap up, like at least round off the year in a positive way. But it seemed to go wrong at once. Like Arsenal being top of the league, I really want Man City to beat them to wind up my mate who's an Arsenal supporter. Yeah, I was stuck in several minds, as I say, about whether to make politics Asia part 3 and 4, or to make, I seem to have done only parts 1 and 2 of each of those, and then or to make the Egypt thing between Africa to have a network with Asia and that kind of thing. I decided to do, or whatever, and I decided to do this. I had 3 sort of ones. Ironically, I got to parts 1 and 2, but not 3 and 4 of each of those. So anyway, I decided to settle with this, and there was a few other things I was going to say about being potentially autistic and or having ADHD, which I talked about. I don't want to say I do have autism and or ADHD because I don't want to be a fraud, but it'll be interesting about those conditions, as I know I mentioned a few times. But anyway, I'm going to crack on with the rest of this video, and hopefully in part 4, the 4th and final part, the third and penultimate part, a big word for me, penultimate, but something I learned in high school. But hopefully in part 4, all being well, I'll talk about some of that sort of stuff and my plans for tomorrow if I get around to making it to part 4 before I go to sleep tonight. Something about my plans for tomorrow. So here goes. These are pointers number 21 to 30. Sorry, the intro went on a bit, but I tell my life stories and that kind of thing. But here goes. So number 21, as the saying goes, 21 again. I pretty much always say. But I love talking about Torino. I'd love for people to find out about the history of Torino, and hopefully Italian teams like Torino bring back their glory days. Number 22, I hope to see what they can do in the future, looking towards the future. Number 23, I hope for, I know I talked about before about Tesla, Toyota, Tata, and others that begin with T, as someone who's obsessed with alliterations, a bit too much, I guess, way too much, but I love for those to invest in Torino and for Italian teams to acquire as much investment and sponsorship money as possible, as long as it's done legally. All legal forms of investments and sponsorship and acquiring money and that kind of thing, which hopefully will help Italian teams like Fiorentina and Bologna to do as well as possible, as they say. Number 24, I hope for Italian teams generally to benefit, as I normally say, with Italian club teams getting the balance right between having great players from overseas, from all over the world, from Holland, Brazil, Argentina, and elsewhere. I think this orange, which reminds me of Holland, but I'm not sure if it's a burgundy or maroon sort of colour the kit that Torino plays. I don't know the exact colour or how you would describe it. I suppose it's a reddish sort of colour. I should have probably Googled if I remembered or thought about it in hindsight. What the colour of the kit of Torino is called. I think it's kind of like red or sort of maroon or whatever, as a fan of Italian football generally. But as I say, as a fan of Italian football generally, including the national team, and someone who wants to see a brighter future for Italian football, I'd love to see them produce good young Italian players as well, including from Turin itself and across Italy, around Italy and that kind of thing. In fact, the reason why I decided to stick to this rather than Politics Asia and Strakor, stuff about Egypt, to have a partnership with Africa, I thought Politics Asia I could talk about in May or June because I want to focus on Asia. Anyway, if I remember, hopefully I'll remember to get parts 3 and 4 of those, and Egypt, although I want to do that this month, talking about my plans for Egypt to be a bridge between Africa and Asia, I thought I wanted to stick to the theme of Italian football because I was thinking about that this week. So I'm doing more of the Asian projects in May and June, all being well. I might do a bit about Italian football and Strakor Celtic in June and maybe even May, but it'll be mostly about Asia, all being well. Touch wood, as they say, if all goes according to plan. But moving on, but yeah, I'd love to see Torino and Italian teams have fans and fans/supporters from all over the world as well as investment, sponsorship, and that kind of thing. Number 25, so it's been a disappointing year for Italian football. I hope that they can find a way to remove this word I struggle with, bureaucracy, and use football for diplomatic sort of things. I know I talk about diplomacy basically, but I know I talk about like a lot of time recently. I've been talking about my idea that I had recently, which is I probably had it at the beginning of this year, I think, where I thought of like discouraging from investing into war and instead encouraging investment into Italian football and Celtic. Piece with football, but and as a fan of Italian football and Celtic, I would prefer to see it being invested into Italian football and Celtic. Number 26, I hope that Italian football can get back to its glory days, as I say, and it'll be a struggle, but I hope they can, as I say, remove bureaucracy. That word again, bureaucracy, to encourage investment and sponsorship and make it more worthwhile, entice investors and sponsors. So to attract that investment and sponsorship, look at ways they can do that, remove any bureaucracy, and maybe just make it as easy for Italian teams, as well as giving them funding, to make it as easy as possible to remove all the barriers, as long as they do it obviously within FIFA and or UEFA, as long as they do it within FIFA's and UEFA's rules and international law, breaking those laws, but to not put any extra unnecessary restrictions or restraints or whatever on Italian teams acquiring investment. So as long as they do it within FIFA and UEFA's rules, to make it as easy as possible to invest into and sponsor Italian football, whether that's from within Italy itself, from the diaspora, another one I struggle with, and Strakor from around the world generally. And again, funding them themselves, as long as they work within FIFA and UEFA's rules. Another one I talk about a lot is like working with FIFA and UEFA. And I'd love to see actually Italian football and Celtic tackling corruption. I think, talking about Celtic, a bit of a side note, I think it'd be interesting if our rivals, like the Rankers as I call them, if there's an investigation into Scottish refereeing which found that they favoured the Rankers, Rangers I call them the Rankers, and Hearts, to put it more maturely, their official name or whatever. Well, Hearts and Lothian, the short is Hearts. Let's say I'd rather maturely call them Farts for some reason, as their rivals, I guess. But yeah, the Rankers and Hearts, as I call them, if there was an investigation that found referees favoured, especially the Rankers, and that's favoured Celtic. As I say, I'd love to do anything within the rules of the game to benefit Italian teams and Celtic, whether that's with investment, sponsorship, funding, more opportunities to train, coaching, better strategies, and to record again whatever legally would benefit Italian football and to record Celtic within the rules of the game. I think it'd be quite an irony if Italian teams, given their history, like what's called the Calciopoli scandal, if Italian teams actually fought corruption and changed their reputation and actually worked to win within the rules of the game, winning by practicing more via superior practices rather than by cheating and that kind of thing. Number 27, I'd love for Torino to honour and acknowledge those who invest in the club and sort of promote them, and it to be good for their PR, public relations, to invest in Torino so they can list them on their website, YouTube, TikTok and whatnot. Socials, as they say, on all the socials, social media and that kind of thing. Number 28, I hope they can turn negative situation like the situation facing Italian football. I hope that'll be a wake-up call. I was thinking that maybe Italy not getting to the World Cup, although there are rumours that we might be able to, I'll say as a support of Italian football, the national team players might get to the World Cup in Iran's place. Although it is a sad situation, obviously I'd rather there not be wars. But and you can say it's only football. But the thing is, maybe not getting to the World Cup is a wake-up call to improve for future World Cups. Hopefully the world will last long enough for Italy to win in the future. But being in the World Cup might just paper over the cracks, and it might be a wake-up call, as I say, to maybe incorporate different strategies, including those from overseas, and not be stuck in the same old ways. Also, I talked about the Superga air disaster. Again, I don't know if I pronounced that right. Something I struggle with pronunciation. But I wonder if they could turn that negative into a positive and acquire investment. I talked about before on that day, which I think is the 4th of May. May the 4th be with Torino, and they could get loads of investment, including from Tesla, Toyota, Tata, and others. Begin with T, as I say, maybe even like well, I suppose nowadays it's called X, well, Twitter, I guess, but companies like YouTube, I know it technically doesn't begin with a Y, with a T, but for some reason I think of like, I suppose the tube bit beginning with T. But moving on, number 29, just like I love for Italian football generally, with the national team and Italian clubs like Torino, I love for my fellow Anglo-Indians and the Eurasians, as well as people with mental health problems and neurodivergent conditions like autism, ADHD, and related conditions. And I say, well, those with mental health problems to have a purpose and play in Turin and help, like to practice, like we could play as Juventus playing against Turin, but helping them to practice and vice versa. I'd love to do that with all the Italian clubs. And number 30, I'd say from a biased point of view, I'd love to see Italian teams do a lot better in the future. So if you made this far, I really appreciate it. And please let me know if you have any tips on what could improve Juventus. So yeah, I'd love to see Italian teams do a lot better. I wish that Fiorentina could have somehow by some miracle won 5-0 today, so they would have went thrown out and also Bologna. But anyway, wasn't to be, I guess. But on that note, I'm out and peace and love.